Hello traders, here Chris Capri, forextrading, where we change the way you think, trade, and perform. In last week's video, we had taken a question from Dennis, a member of the community, who was saying, hey, if you don't use confirmation signals, how do you know what entry and price you want to get in? And how do you deal with all these different scenarios that happens in trading? How do you manage all these uncertainties? In today's video, we are going to talk about a few important things. And the first part is our particular learning process that we teach our members, our course members, saying, hey, trading is a skill-based endeavor. Just like in basketball, you're going to need skills like footwear, dribbling and footwork and passing and shooting mechanics. Those are all core skills you're going to need to play basketball well. Trading is no different. You're going to need a particular set of skills to make money trading. And so we start with a foundational set of skills and then work your way up. So we're going to talk about that particular part of the process. We're also going to talk about patience, which is a super important quality to have as a trader. If you don't really learn to build patience in your learning process or in trading, then you're going to really struggle with this and you're going to have a hard time making money trading. It's a super important quality, and it really kind of says something about your mindset. People who have winning mindsets that know how to really train and practice, they have patience, and there's a reason why, and we're going to get into that. So let's go ahead and jump into MJ's question. So MJ writes and asks, he says, hi Chris, it's a little bit confusing because before this course I was a confirmation trader. And for those of you who don't know what a confirmation trader is, this is someone who uses candlestick patterns basically and candlestick signals to trade the market. They're looking for confirmation, and we talk about how that actually doesn't exist and it actually affects your performance. So MJ was a confirmation trader, and he's coming in a course, and he's been in the course for about 17 days now for a little bit of context. So MJ says, as a confirmation trader now, I'm not sure when to enter a trade. I can find a good trade location as per the lessons in the course, but I don't know what to do with it. For the breakout strategy you have, do you enter a trade after the close of a candle, or do you put a limit order at the trade location? These are questions and points in my mind that I'm not really understanding. So MJ, this is a great question. I'm glad you asked these questions, and they kind of tie nicely with what Dennis was talking about. So the first thing I want to talk about is our particular learning process that we teach all our members. So as I mentioned before, trading is a skill-based endeavor. And what that means is you're going to have to practice and wire these skills in so that they become subconscious and automatic so you can make money trading. If you don't have the skills, you're not going to be able to do what you need to when it comes to the right time in trading. So when you're learning how to trade price action, we have 3 core skills that are really this kind of foundation for all the intermediate and advanced skills and strategies you're going to learn. And then we call them the 3 pillars of price action context. Our particular methodology for training is that you want to first start off on a simulator, then you want to practice on demo, and then you want to practice on live. Just like if you're learning to play basketball, you don't just jump right into the NBA. You have to start off and practice the skills in practice, and then after you kind of get the skills later on in that practice, you'll start playing like a practice game with other team members. And then once you have that down, then you'll kind of go into a live game and kind of really synthesize all that. We take a very similar approach to that. And so we start off with the first pillar of price action context, and we suggest recommending that you practice that on a simulator. And then once you have that skill down, then you're going to work on the second pillar of price action context, and you're going to work on that in isolation. And then once you have that down, you're going to work on the third pillar of price action context. And then once you have all these individual skills down, then we're going to have you synthesize them together so they kind of work together and flow together. Then we feel like, okay, now it's time to start practicing on a demo account. And the reason being is that on a simulator, you can stop the simulator, you can pause, you can go back, you can kind of fast forward if you want to. You can't do that on a demo account. So the skill level changes, the challenge level increases, and you have to be a little bit more efficient with your process in real time because the market's not going to stop for you. Once you've done that on a demo account sufficiently and you're able to find trade locations and make trading decisions and show that, hey, you have some skills and you have a little bit of edge in play, then let's take you to the live environment and start practicing that. So simulator, we recommend starting off on simulator, then demo, and then live. That's our particular methodology. MJ, who was only 17 days in the course, kind of skipped that process, and he was using these concepts without fully understanding them or practicing them on live. It wasn't working for him. He was getting stuck, he was getting frustrated, he was getting impatient. And so, that's why he came to me with this question like, hey, how do I work with this? I'm still confused about this. First off, my recommendation to MJ and all of you who kind of jumped ahead in your learning process, start from the ground up. Build your skills from the ground up. Do it in the right order. Be patient with it, because if you do that, then each skill will just naturally build into the next. But if you skip any part of that process, then when it comes to doing it in real time, you're going to have the experience of like, shoot, what do I do here? I'm not supposed to do this. Does he say this? You're going to have that experience. And I'm guessing you've already had that experience. And if you are, that means you haven't wired the skills in your brain. You haven't practiced them enough to where they're automatic. And so if you've had that experience, it means you probably skipped certain parts of the process. Go back a little bit, get those skills hardwired, and then move on to the next one and the next one. And pretty soon you'll have a good set of skills in place to make money trading. That's kind of my recommendation in terms of the learning process, and specifically to MJ in this situation. Now, he was asking a question about breakouts, and he was saying, hey, with the breakout strategy, do I take the breakout as it's happening, or do I wait for a breakout pullback, and then how do I get in that? So we have two ways of trading breakouts. We have actually trading the breakout as is, and we list all these qualifications. Here's what the structure should look like. You should be seeing this variable in the price action, this and this. And if you have all these things in place, then you can take the breakout as it's happening. If you don't have that, or if you miss that and you want to take the breakout pullback setup, that's where the market kind of hits a resistance. It breaks above the resistance, and then it comes back to that resistance, and the buyers should use that as support to go long and move the market higher. We'll take the breakout pullback on that, and we talk about all the conditions to do that. The third thing that kind of I wanted to mention and talk about with MJ's comments and questions really has to do with patience. If you're going to want to make money trading, you're going to have to build patience. And part of that is because the market's not going to work on a timeline you want it to. It doesn't care what bills you have to pay tomorrow or next week or next month. It's just going to move when it wants to move, and you can't control that. And so you're going to have to learn to build patience and apply your skills at the right time when the opportunity comes up. And then when it's not, you're going to have to sit back and wait. And that can take any amount of time it wants to. The market will move when it wants to, and it'll do what it wants to. Your job is to take advantage of the opportunities when they come. But if you try and force it because you're impatient, because it's not moving fast enough, because you're getting stuck in a part of the process that, hey, I don't understand this, and so what do I do? Beginning and struggling traders often are challenged by this experience. They go through the learning process, and at some point they're going to get stuck. It's inevitable. I've had that experience. You've had that experience. Anybody watching this video has had that experience. The getting stuck part isn't a problem. But if that question, or if you don't get unstuck in a short period of time, I've noticed that beginning and struggling traders start to get impatient. And if that doesn't happen on a certain timeline that they want it to, then they get frustrated. And that's where the process really goes awry. And so I'm going to ask kind of 3 questions, or pose 3 contemplations about you and your experience of patience. And I'd like you to take them and sit with them for a week, reflect upon your experience, and then we're going to talk about it in the next video, because there's some really important material here and some lessons here that every trader, every struggling developing trader is going to need to learn if you want to make money trading, because patience is a super important quality you're going to have to build if you want this to work. The first contemplation and question is, why am I frustrated with being stuck in the learning process? That's the first question. You've gotten to a point in the course and the material in your learning process, and you're just not able to synthesize it, and you find yourself not just stuck but getting impatient, and it's not working out as fast as you want to. Why can't I just Google the answer? Why didn't they just explain it this way? Whatever the reason is, whatever the experience is, if you find yourself getting impatient and frustrated, the first question you should be asking yourself is, why am I getting frustrated with being stuck right now? What's so problematic about this? That's the first question in contemplation. The second one to kind of reflect upon is, why am I trying to control the process? If you think about it, if you're getting impatient and frustrated with your learning process, with the trading process or whatever, you must by default have some sort of expectations of what this should look like, of how fast it should go, of what it should be. And those expectations are clearly not being met, and that's why you feel impatient. You feel frustrated. So you have to ask yourself, why am I trying to control this? Because if you weren't trying to control this and you were just letting the process happen as is, you wouldn't be impatient. You wouldn't have these concepts or ideas about how this process should go. So you have to ask yourself, why are you trying to control a process that you can't really control? It's a super important question to ask. The third kind of question and contemplation to ask is, what if I just own this experience? And what I mean by that is, if you feel impatient, if you feel frustrated, what's your typical reaction when you're impatient and frustrated? Think about it the next time you're driving your car in traffic and traffic's stuck and it's not moving as fast as you want, and you find yourself getting impatient or frustrated. Are you calm and relaxed in that moment, or you start to be like, oh, what's going on, and why didn't they pull in this lane, and why don't they pass on the left and not on the right? There's all kinds of things people go through when they get impatient and frustrated. Owning it means first becoming aware of it. Second, it means kind of just recognizing to yourself, hey, I feel impatient. I feel frustrated. And then just kind of sitting with that and working with that, not making anything out of it, not making, oh, well, this market's stupid, or why didn't the course explain it this way and this way, and this would be so much easier, and why didn't you do this, or why can't it be like this? Why can't it just be so clear? Why can't you just explain all the rules and then all I have to do is just follow the rules? Instead of going into that kind of trip and process, what happens if you just own the experience? These are three really important questions, and I think when you really start to reflect upon them, they're going to really give you some good insights about your mindset and how you relate to these situations. With that being said, go ahead and think about that, and then in next week's video, we're going to kind of get into this a little bit further. We're going to really explore this and talk about why this is such an important quality, the quality of patience and being able to manage your emotions in the learning process and in the trading process. With that being said, make sure to leave your comment and feedback. I will look forward to hearing from you. I will see you in the next video. Good luck trading and take care.